Inventores mudam a história vendo o que ainda não existe e criando soluções. São um grupo pequeno, alguns milhares em um planeta de bilhões. Um deles é Dean Kamen, um americano de 57 anos que vive em Connecticut. Na parede, o herói, Albert Einstein, está usando uma das invenções de Kamen. Einstein é uma inspiração para Dean Kamen em física teórica, mas o próprio Kamen trabalha com a física do cotidiano. Quando era adolescente, ele inventou uma bomba de insulina portátil revolucionária e um aparelho caseiro de hemodiálise. E não parou. Tem mais de 440 patentes. Ele inventou uma cadeira de rodas que se levanta. E depois ficou famoso quando criou um veículo que se equilibra sozinho, multiplica a velocidade do ser humano, não polui e não ocupa muito mais espaço do que o próprio corpo. No Espaço Aberto Ciência e Tecnologia de hoje, vamos conhecer esse gênio que ganhou a Medalha Americana de Tecnologia em 2000, que está na calçada da fama dos inventores e é a força criativa em uma corporação dedicada a desenvolver tecnologias e soluções científicas. Dean Kamen não costuma dar entrevistas, mas como quer divulgar a ciência em vários países, inclusive no Brasil, recebeu a nossa equipe e contou como funciona, para ele, o processo de criação. Invenções não são resultado de encomendas, mas de observação do cotidiano. Foi assim que surgiu o iBot, uma cadeira de rodas revolucionária. Right.
I've spent my whole life building medical equipment, artificial pancreas for diabetics, artificial kidneys for people with renal failure, stents for people with heart failure. And one day, a long time ago, I was going into our little local mall here in New Hampshire one night after work, and I was watching a guy. It was a rainy night. I was watching him try to get into the mall, but he was in a wheelchair. And this isn't a difficult environment or an old, tall building. It's a beautiful new mall. But there was a curb. And this guy couldn't get out of the parking lot, up the curb into this nice modern mall. And he wasn't a doddering, old, feeble person. He looked like a pretty muscular guy that just didn't have legs. And so a couple of people helped him get up the curb into the mall. And I thought, you know, I keep a helicopter on my roof. I can do pirouettes off this roof and fly home. We can put men on the moon. But a guy without legs can't get into a shopping mall on his own? And I just decided it'll be another one of my medical projects. I'm going to solve the wheelchair problem. And for at least a year, I failed and failed and failed and failed. A few months later, I'm at home. It's early in the morning. I'm getting out of the shower. This will sound corny, but it's true. I'm getting out of my shower. And as I open the door, the floor, which is a very polished granite floor, is wet. And I go to step out, and my heel slips out from under me, and I start falling back, as you would when you're slipping. And I started swinging my arms back, as you learn to do as a kid. If you're falling back, you swing this way. If you were falling forward, you'd swing that way. That's called angular momentum. I was trying to straighten myself out. And as I started to straighten myself out, sliding across the floor, I hit the other wall. Don't be too graphic about that image. But there I am, against the wall, cold and nearly falling down. But I used my balance and didn't fall over. And as I stood against that wall, I said, I've solved this problem. And so I came running into work, and I brought the team together, and I said, hey, everybody, the reason we failed to build a machine is because we were building the wrong kind of machine. We've got to simulate human balance. We've got to understand how people stand up. And once we can do that, we can figure out how to make a device that will help the disabled community regain that capability, essentially to be dynamically stabilized.
As quatro rodas principais do iBot usam um sistema de tração sofisticado para vencer obstáculos que têm alturas diferentes, como degraus ou o meio-fio. Mas o cérebro dessa cadeira de rodas é o giroscópio, que permite a cadeira se levantar e permanecer equilibrada. O mesmo princípio foi responsável pela criação do Segway.
Before you tell me the story, that moment is the moment that interests me. The moment that you look at something and say, this can be used like that. Do you remember for the Segway?
On the Segway, it's a little embarrassing, but we were building some of our experimental iBots. And there they are standing up by themselves, because they do. I can show you. They stand up. And we're using the joystick to move it around, forward and back and left and right. And one of my engineers, who's a little crazy, jumps on one. And he's standing up on the seat. Well, that makes you very tall. And he's standing on the seat and leaning forward and back. And, of course, since the machine won't let you fall over, as he's leaning forward and back, the machine is running up and back. And he's got this big smile on his face because it's fun. And I'm standing there thinking, wow, if we take that seat off, put a low platform on it, if we make this a device that able-bodied people as a consumer product could use, A, the market is much, much bigger than the disabled community. But more importantly, what if we could make a serious product that would add efficiency and productivity and be environmentally friendly? You know, you just start going through your head instantly. We've used technology to make air travel faster and faster and faster. We've used technology to make cars and trucks and locomotives, and we pull millions of tons of stuff. But what technology have we ever made to allow an ordinary pedestrian who's standing up on two little feet to go faster? So there I see my engineer on this, and I'm thinking, it's fun, and it's the first time I could imagine a technology building a really new mode of transportation for the pedestrian.
O Segway desperta curiosidade nas ruas. Não se tornou ainda um meio de transporte comum, mas começa a fazer parte da paisagem de várias cidades americanas. Em Washington, o tour mais divertido pelos monumentos da capital é feito nesse transporte pessoal. Os comandos são intuitivos. Inclinando o corpo para frente, a aceleração é imediata. Puxando o corpo para trás como para evitar um obstáculo, ele freia. Essa coluna móvel mexe o veículo para a direita e para a esquerda com suavidade. O movimento brusco é a única coisa que o veículo realmente não gosta muito. A inclinação do corpo para frente manda um impulso para o motor elétrico, como se fosse a pressão no acelerador. A inclinação para trás corta a aceleração, o que, em um motor elétrico, funciona como freio. Inclinação lateral distribui a aceleração para cada uma das duas rodas e o Segway faz curvas. Enquanto tudo isso acontece, 5 microgiroscópios funcionam como o ouvido interno do ser humano. Nunca perdem a noção de onde está o piso. Recebendo essa informação 100 vezes por segundo, 2 acelerômetros mantêm o veículo de pé. Com 2 baterias de lítio, o Segway alcança 20 km por hora e percorre 35 km. A recarga demora entre 8 e 10 horas e consome apenas 1 kW. Não é muito difícil se equilibrar no veículo, a gente se acostuma rapidamente. Mas o morador aqui da Casa Branca não conseguiu. Em 2003, George Bush tentou subir em um Segway sem saber que a plataforma tem que estar paralela ao chão para o equilíbrio. Bush caiu, mas deu mais visibilidade ao veículo do que o próprio lançamento 2 anos antes.
This is what you see, the use of technology in phased ways, as you said, for larger distances, smaller distances. That could be what we will be using which versions in an urban environment. That version, different ones?
I think right now what we're seeing, and that happens with most technologies, when a new technology comes out, typically it's not just cutting edge in the system level, it's typically cutting edge in the components. You know, why did computers finally come around? Because people could make microprocessors, but they were expensive. Or why did almost any new technology get built into a product? Because sub-technologies made it possible. But those sub-technologies start out expensive. Right now, lithium batteries are very expensive, and solid-state gyros were very expensive. So with most new technologies, they get adopted first by businesses or governments that can afford high-end, expensive alternatives to what they were doing. And then after a while, they become consumer products. You know, computers started out as only what the government and then big business used. Now everybody uses a computer. I think now when you look at Segway technology, it's being used by police and security and certain business applications where the value of being able to do things faster is so important, you can justify it. But as time goes on, I think you'll see more and more consumer models of the Segway that reach the price point where individuals can afford to have them and they get comfortable with wanting to use them because they are more environmentally friendly, because they're more productive, they're more efficient, they're faster than any other way to get around a pedestrian environment.
A polícia da capital americana já adotou o Segway como veículo. É a única forma de um policial patrulhar a rua e conseguir, sem interrupção, entrar em um prédio, subir em um elevador e percorrer todo um andar. Para isso, eles treinam durante dias as manobras mais difíceis que terão que fazer no Segway e aprendem a acelerar rapidamente e frear o veículo em distâncias mínimas.